The morning sun cast long shadows across the Naval Special Warfare Training Compound in Coronado, California. Commander Jake Morrison checked his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. The visiting delegation from the Department of Defense was running late, and his SEAL team had been standing at attention for nearly 20 minutes. "Sir, vehicle approaching the main gate," called out Petty Officer Rodriguez from his position near the entrance. Morrison straightened his uniform and prepared to greet what he assumed would be another group of Pentagon officials wanting to observe their training exercises. The black SUV pulled up to the designated area, and Morrison watched as several men in suits stepped out, but it was the fifth person who caught his attention. A woman, probably in her early 30s, emerged from the passenger side. She wore simple athletic clothes and carried a small duffel bag. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and she moved with the quiet confidence Morrison had learned to recognize in experienced operators. "Good morning, Commander Morrison," said the lead official, a tall man with graying temples. "I'm Deputy Director Harrison from Special Operations Command. This is Dr. Sarah Chen from our Human Performance Research Division." He gestured toward the woman. "She'll be observing your training protocols today as part of a comprehensive study on elite unit performance standards." Morrison nodded respectfully, though internally he was puzzled. Dr. Chen didn't look like the typical academic researcher who occasionally visited their facility. Those visitors usually came with clipboards, multiple assistants, and enough recording equipment to film a documentary. This woman had only her duffel bag and an intensity in her eyes that reminded him of his most seasoned operators. "Welcome to our facility, Dr. Chen," Morrison said, extending his hand. Her grip was firm, her palms slightly calloused in a way that spoke of serious physical training rather than occasional gym visits. "Thank you, Commander. I appreciate you allowing me to observe. I promise to stay out of your way," she replied. Her voice was calm and professional, but Morrison noticed she was already scanning the training area with the systematic attention of someone who understood tactical environments. As the delegation was led toward the observation area, Morrison couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Dr. Chen than her official title suggested. The way she moved, the way she assessed her surroundings, even the way she positioned herself relative to the group, indicated someone with operational experience. The morning's training schedule included their standard physical fitness assessment, followed by combat swimming exercises, and culminating with their infamous obstacle course challenge. The obstacle course was Morrison's pride and joy, a brutal combination of rope climbs, wall traverses, tire drags, and precision shooting that had been designed to push even elite operators to their limits. "Gentlemen," Morrison addressed his 12-man team, "we have visitors today observing our training protocols. I want you to demonstrate why SEAL Team 7 maintains the highest standards in the teams. Show them what excellence looks like." The physical fitness test began with a 5-mile run along the beach. Morrison's men moved out in perfect formation, their boots hitting the sand in synchronized rhythm. From the observation platform, Dr. Chen watched intently, occasionally making notes in a small notebook. "She's studying movement patterns," observed Chief Petty Officer Williams, Morrison's second-in-command. "Look at how she's tracking their stride length and breathing cadence. That's not standard academic observation." Morrison had noticed the same thing. Dr. Chen wasn't just watching, she was analyzing with the eye of someone who understood the technical aspects of elite physical performance from the inside. After the run, the team moved to the pool facility for combat swimming assessments. Each SEAL had to complete a series of underwater exercises designed to test breath control, underwater navigation, and emergency procedures. The current record for the complete underwater circuit had been held by Petty Officer Martinez for over 10 years. His time of 4 minutes and 37 seconds was legendary within the team and had never been seriously challenged. As the swimming exercises began, Dr. Chen moved closer to the pool deck. Morrison noticed she had changed from her previous position, now standing where she could observe both the swimmers and the timing equipment. "Excuse me," she said quietly to Morrison. "Would it be possible for me to understand the specific parameters of this exercise? For my research, I need to comprehend the exact physical and mental demands you're measuring." Morrison explained the underwater circuit. A 50-meter underwater swim, followed by a series of breath-holding exercises, underwater knot tying, and finally a simulated rescue scenario where the operator had to retrieve a weighted dummy from the bottom of the pool and bring it to the surface, all while maintaining tactical silence and efficiency. "The current record is 4 minutes and 37 seconds, Morrison added with obvious pride. "It's been unbroken for a decade. Martinez set it during his final qualification exercise before deploying to Afghanistan." Dr. Chen nodded thoughtfully, her eyes following Martinez as he prepared for his demonstration run. She watched as he controlled his breathing, entered the water with minimal splash, and began the circuit with the fluid efficiency that came from years of specialized training. Martinez completed his run in 4 minutes and 52 seconds, still impressive but not close to his record-setting performance from years past. The other team members followed, with times ranging from 5 minutes and 10 seconds to 6 minutes and 40 seconds. All were excellent performances that would be impossible for ordinary swimmers, but none approached the legendary record. "That's quite impressive," Dr. Chen commented to Morrison. "The level of breath control and underwater efficiency your men demonstrate is remarkable. The physiological demands must be extraordinary." "It takes years to develop that kind of capability," Morrison replied. "The training is designed to push human performance to its absolute limits. What you're seeing represents the pinnacle of human aquatic capability." As the swimming exercises concluded, the team prepared for the final challenge of the day, the obstacle course. This was the crown jewel of their training facility, a quarter-mile course that combined elements of strength, speed, agility, and marksmanship. The current overall record was held by retired Master Chief Thompson, who had completed the course in 8 minutes and 12 seconds during a demonstration exercise 3 years earlier. The course began with a 30-foot rope climb, followed by a series of wall traverses requiring upper body strength and technical climbing skills. From there, operators had to drag a 200-pound tire through a serpentine course, complete a precision rifle shooting challenge with 5 targets at varying distances, navigate a crawl tunnel filled with simulated obstacles, and finish with a sprint to the end zone. "This is our ultimate test," Morrison explained to the visiting delegation. "It measures every aspect of operational capability: strength, endurance, technical skill, marksmanship, and mental toughness under extreme physical stress." Dr. Chen watched the first few operators attempt the course. Her attention focused not just on their times, but on their techniques, their breathing patterns, and their approach to each obstacle. She was clearly analyzing the biomechanics and physiological demands of each element. Petty Officer Rodriguez ran the course in 8 minutes and 43 seconds, an excellent time that drew appreciative nods from his teammates. Chief Williams followed with 8 minutes and 51 seconds, demonstrating the steady technique that had made him Morrison's most reliable operator. As the exercises continued, Dr. Chen surprised Morrison by asking detailed technical questions about specific elements of the course design, the optimization of obstacle sequences, and the metabolic demands of each section. Her questions revealed a depth of understanding that went far beyond academic interest. "Dr. Chen," Morrison finally said during a brief break, "if you don't mind me asking, your questions suggest considerable personal experience with this type of training. What's your background before joining the research division?" She smiled for the first time that day, an expression that transformed her serious demeanor. "I spent 8 years as a combat swimmer with Naval Special Warfare Development Group before transitioning to research. My doctoral work focused on optimizing human performance under extreme physiological stress." Morrison felt his assumptions reshuffling. Naval Special Warfare Development Group was DEV-GRU, commonly known as SEAL Team 6. Dr. Chen wasn't just an academic observer, she was former Tier 1 Special Operations, among the most elite operators in the military. "That explains your questions," Morrison said with new respect. "You've been through this yourself." "Something like that," she replied, her eyes returning to the obstacle course where another SEAL was preparing for his attempt. As the afternoon progressed, it became clear that Dr. Chen was not content to simply observe. She began offering subtle technical suggestions about breathing techniques and movement efficiency that demonstrated not just theoretical knowledge, but practical mastery of the skills being tested. The visiting delegation was preparing to depart when Dr. Chen made an unexpected request that would change everything about the day, and ultimately about the record books that had stood unchallenged for over a decade. "Commander Morrison," Dr. Chen said as the delegation prepared to leave, "would it be possible for me to attempt the obstacle course myself? For research purposes, I need to understand the physiological experience from a first-person perspective." The training area fell silent. Morrison's 12 SEALs stopped their equipment cleanup and turned to stare. The visiting officials looked surprised. And Deputy Director Harrison appeared uncomfortable with the unexpected request. "Dr. Chen," Harrison began, "that wasn't part of today's agenda. The liability considerations alone are manageable," she interrupted gently but firmly. "I maintain current physical qualifications and insurance clearance for all special operations training activities. It's documented in my research authorization." Morrison found himself in an unusual position. In his 15 years of command, he had never had a visiting researcher request to participate in their most demanding physical challenge. The obstacle course was designed to test operators who had completed years of specialized training. Even experienced SEALs approached it with serious preparation and respect. "Ma'am," Morrison said carefully, "this course is extremely demanding. It's designed for operators who maintain peak physical condition as their primary occupation. With all due respect to your background, research work doesn't typically maintain that level of conditioning." Dr. Chen's smile returned, but this time it carried a hint of something that Morrison couldn't quite identify. "Commander, I understand your concern, but I maintain my physical standards. I wouldn't make this request if I wasn't confident in my ability to complete the course safely." Chief Williams stepped forward. "Sir, if Dr. Chen is former DevGru, she understands what she's asking. But maybe we should start with something less challenging, the swimming circuit perhaps." "Actually," Dr. Chen said, her voice taking on a tone that made Morrison pay closer attention, "I was thinking about that swimming record you mentioned. 4 minutes and 37 seconds, that's quite impressive." Petty Officer Martinez, who held the record, looked up from where he was toweling off. 10 years and nobody's come close," he said with justifiable pride. "That record was set during peak training before deployment. I was in the best shape of my life." Dr. Chen nodded thoughtfully. "What would you say if I told you I thought that time could be improved?" The group's dynamics shifted subtly. Martinez's expression changed from friendly pride to something more competitive. "With respect, ma'am, that record has been tested by hundreds of elite swimmers over the years. The guys here represent some of the best combat swimmers in the world." "I'm sure they do," Dr. Chen replied evenly. "But sometimes improvements come from different approaches to the same challenge." Morrison sensed the conversation moving toward something significant. His men were beginning to show the quiet intensity that appeared whenever their capabilities were questioned, even indirectly. It wasn't hostility, but rather the focused attention of professionals who took their abilities seriously. "Dr. Chen," Morrison said, "are you suggesting you might be able to challenge Martinez's record?" "I'm suggesting that records are meant to be tested," she replied. "If I'm going to research optimal performance parameters, I need to understand where the current limits actually exist versus where they're assumed to exist." Deputy Director Harrison looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Dr. Chen, this really isn't the purpose of today's visit. Perhaps we should discuss this back at headquarters." "Actually," Morrison found himself saying. If Dr. Chen wants to attempt the swimming circuit, I don't see any reason to prevent it. The safety protocols are the same regardless of who's in the pool. Chief Williams nodded slowly. The course is designed with multiple safety checkpoints. If she's confident in her abilities and maintains current certifications, it should be manageable. Dr. Chen looked around the group. I appreciate your willingness to accommodate my request. But I want to be clear about something. This isn't just about research for me. I spent years training at facilities like this, and I've always wondered about the limits we accept versus the limits that actually exist. She paused, her expression becoming more serious. The truth is, I've been analyzing performance data from elite units for 3 years now. I've identified several areas where I believe current records reflect training methodology limitations rather than actual human performance ceilings. Martinez stepped closer. You're saying you think you can beat a record that stood for 10 years? I'm saying I'd like to find out, Dr. Chen replied simply. The challenge was now explicit, and Morrison could feel the energy in the group change. His SEALs were competitive by nature, but they also respected genuine ability when they encountered it. Dr. Chen's background with DevGru gave her credibility, but claiming she could break a decade-old record was a bold assertion that demanded proof. What do you think, Martinez? Morrison asked his record holder. Are you comfortable with Dr. Chen attempting your circuit? Martinez considered for a moment. Sir, I'd actually be interested to see what she can do. That record has been a source of pride for our team for years. If it can be beaten legitimately, I'd rather know about it. All right, Morrison decided. Dr. Chen, if you're serious about this, we'll set up the full official circuit. Same parameters Martinez used for his record, same timing system, same safety protocols. Dr. Chen nodded. I appreciate that. I'll need about 15 minutes to prepare properly. As she walked toward the changing area with her duffel bag, the SEALs gathered around Martinez and Morrison. The mood was one of curious anticipation rather than skepticism. These men had seen enough exceptional performers to recognize that surprises were always possible. What do you think, Chief? Morrison asked Williams quietly. Sir, I've learned not to underestimate people with her background. DevGru doesn't select people who make claims they can't back up. But that record... Williams shook his head. Martinez was phenomenal that day. Everything came together perfectly. She seems confident, observed Rodriguez. And she's asking for the full official protocol. That suggests she's done this before under similar conditions. When Dr. Chen returned from changing, Morrison noticed several things immediately. First, her swimsuit was not recreational gear, but specialized equipment designed for competitive performance. Second, her preparation routine was methodical and professional, including specific breathing exercises and muscle activation techniques that demonstrated serious training. Most importantly, her entire demeanor had changed. The polite researcher had been replaced by someone who moved with the focused intensity Morrison recognized in his most capable operators just before demanding missions. The circuit is set up exactly as it was for Martinez's record, Chief Williams announced. 4 judges, automated timing system, full safety protocols in place. Dr. Chen nodded and walked to the pool edge. She spent several minutes studying the underwater course layout, visualizing the route and identifying optimal approach angles for each element. Any questions about the course requirements? Morrison asked. No questions, she replied, her voice now carrying a tone of complete concentration. I understand the parameters. She positioned herself at the starting point, controlled her breathing to a slow, deep rhythm, and looked up at Morrison. Ready when you are, Commander. Morrison looked around at his team. Every man was focused on the pool, understanding they were about to witness either an impressive attempt or a historic achievement. The decade-old record that had become part of their unit's identity was about to be tested by someone they had initially assumed was just another visiting researcher. Dr. Chen, Morrison called out formally. "You may begin when ready." She took 3 final deep breaths, her body becoming perfectly still, and then slipped into the water with barely a splash. What happened next would either confirm the enduring nature of elite SEAL performance standards or demonstrate that even the most established records could be vulnerable to someone with the right combination of skill, preparation, and determination. Dr. Chen disappeared beneath the surface with the efficiency that immediately caught Morrison's attention. Her entry technique was flawless, creating minimal disturbance while achieving optimal depth positioning for the start of the underwater circuit. The first segment required a 50-meter underwater swim through a marked course with specific turning points. Morrison watched the underwater cameras as Dr. Chen moved through the water with a fluid grace that exceeded even his best swimmers. Her stroke technique was unconventional but clearly optimized for underwater efficiency rather than surface speed. "Look at her dolphin kick," whispered Rodriguez. "She's getting more distance per stroke than anyone I've seen." Chief Williams was monitoring the timing display. "She's 15 seconds ahead of Martinez's pace at the first checkpoint." That's significant. The second phase involved a series of breath-holding exercises combined with underwater knot tying. This section had always been the most challenging part of Martinez's record run because it required maintaining fine motor control while managing oxygen debt from the initial swim. Dr. Chen approached the knot tying station and began working with movements that were both quick and precise. Morrison could see through the underwater cameras that her technique was different from the standard approach his SEALs used. Where they relied on practiced muscle memory, she seemed to be using more efficient hand positions that reduced unnecessary movement. "She's using a modified bowline variation," observed Martinez, who was watching intently from the pool deck. "That's faster than the standard approach we teach, but it requires more technical skill." 32 seconds ahead of record pace," called out Chief Williams. The third segment was the most physically demanding, retrieving a weighted training dummy from the bottom of the 12-foot pool section while maintaining tactical silence and bringing it to the surface using proper rescue techniques. This phase combined strength, technique, and oxygen management in a way that had defeated many excellent swimmers. Dr. Chen descended to the dummy with controlled efficiency, secured it using textbook rescue positioning, and began her ascent. Morrison noticed she was using a technique that distributed the dummy's weight differently, allowing her to maintain better hydrodynamics during the lift. 45 seconds ahead," Williams announced, his voice carrying a tone of amazement. As Dr. Chen surfaced with the dummy completing the circuit, Morrison looked at the official timer display, 3 minutes and 49 seconds. The pool deck fell completely silent except for the sound of water lapping against the sides and Dr. Chen's controlled breathing as she recovered. She had not just broken Martinez's 10-year-old record, she had shattered it by 48 seconds. "Timer malfunction?" Morrison asked Williams quietly. "Negative, sir. I've got confirmation from all 4 timing systems. 3 minutes, 49 seconds. It's legitimate." Dr. Chen pulled herself out of the pool and stood dripping on the deck, her breathing already returning to normal. She looked around at the stunned faces of 12 elite SEALs who had just witnessed something they hadn't thought possible. "That was an excellent circuit design," she said to Morrison, her professional demeanor returning. "Very effective at testing integrated performance under physiological stress." Martinez walked over to her, extending his hand with the expression of genuine respect. "Ma'am, that was extraordinary. I've never seen underwater efficiency like that. Where did you learn those techniques?" "Combination of sources," Dr. Chen replied, shaking his hand. "Some from my operational training, some from competitive swimming background, and some from research into biomechanical optimization. The key was identifying where traditional techniques could be improved without sacrificing safety or reliability." Morrison found his voice. "Dr. Chen, that performance was remarkable, But I have to ask, why didn't you mention your swimming capabilities earlier? She smiled, and this time her expression carried a hint of mischief. Commander, you assumed I was just a researcher. I assumed you might not take my capabilities seriously if I led with my athletic background instead of my academic credentials. Deputy Director Harrison, who had been standing speechless since the timer stopped, finally spoke. Dr. Chen, this wasn't exactly what we had planned for today's visit. Actually, she replied, this was exactly what we had planned. My research focuses on identifying performance gaps in elite units. Not capability gaps, but methodology gaps where established techniques might be limiting actual potential. She turned to address the entire group. The record that stood for 10 years wasn't broken because Martinez lacked ability. It was broken because training methodologies have evolved, and sometimes records reflect the limits of old techniques rather than human potential. Morrison was beginning to understand. You're saying there might be other areas where our assumed limits aren't actual limits? I'm saying that's exactly what my research is designed to identify, Dr. Chen confirmed. Elite units like yours are incredibly capable, but sometimes excellence becomes the enemy of optimization. You perfect techniques that work, but you might not explore techniques that work better. Chief Williams stepped forward. What about the obstacle course? Are you suggesting that record might be vulnerable too? Dr. Chen looked toward the quarter-mile course that had intimidated countless operators. I'd like to find out if Commander Morrison is willing to extend today's research session. The challenge was implicit, but clear. Morrison looked at his men and saw expressions of fascination rather than defensive pride. These were professionals who understood that being challenged made them better, even when the challenge came from an unexpected source. Dr. Chen, Morrison said, if you're serious about attempting our obstacle course record, I need to inform you that it's significantly more demanding than the swimming circuit. Master Chief Thompson's 8 minutes and 12 seconds represents peak human performance across multiple disciplines. I understand the demands, she replied, but I've been analyzing performance video from similar courses for 2 years. I have some theories about optimization opportunities. Martinez spoke up. Ma'am, after what we just witnessed, I think everyone here would be interested to see what you can do with the obstacle course. The other SEALs nodded agreement. The atmosphere had shifted from skeptical observation to genuine curiosity about what other assumptions might be challenged. Equipment? Morrison asked. Standard issue is fine, Dr. Chen replied. Part of my research involves demonstrating that performance improvements come from technique optimization rather than specialized equipment. As they walked toward the obstacle course starting line, Morrison realized this visit had become something entirely different from what anyone had expected. A routine training demonstration had evolved into a potential redefinition of what his elite unit considered possible. Dr. Chen studied the course layout for several minutes, walking through each section and examining the obstacles from multiple angles. Morrison watched her assess rope positioning, wall approach angles, and the optimal route through the tire drag section with the systematic attention of an engineer analyzing a complex system. The current record approach uses brute force effectively, she observed to Morrison, but there might be technical solutions that achieve better results with less energy expenditure. Energy management is crucial, agreed Chief Williams. The course is designed so that inefficiency in early sections compromises performance in later sections. Dr. Chen nodded. Exactly. Which means optimization isn't just about individual obstacles, but about the integrated energy profile of the entire sequence. She positioned herself at the starting line, her focus becoming absolute in the way Morrison had learned to recognize in operators preparing for critical missions. Around the course, his SEALs had gathered to witness what might become a historic moment or an impressive attempt. "Ready, Dr. Chen," Morrison called out. "Ready, Commander." Morrison looked at the official timer, understanding that the next 8 to 10 minutes would either confirm the enduring excellence of his team's capabilities or demonstrate that even their most cherished records were vulnerable to someone who approached familiar challenges with fresh perspective and exceptional skill. The timer started, and Dr. Chen exploded toward the first obstacle with a speed and precision that immediately announced this would be no ordinary attempt.